I took, I think it was 6 articles that I read on healthy time boundaries, and with my experience as well, was going to give you some tips that could be helpful. So the first tip from people who are teaching online is engage with students first. Start your day by communicating with students. These are suggestions coming out of an article that's going to come up a little bit later about how making your first priority when teaching online with students means communicating with them first, but not communicating with them always. Students are most frustrated by online instructors who do not communicate in a timely manner, refuse to help or answer questions, and fail to respond to students. And those are specific to teaching online, with the exception of the failure to respond, which is also in face-to-face. So when we're talking about this, we need to make sure that we're communicating with students, but that we're also making sure that we are not always communicating with the students. Plan when you will reply to email, and tell students when that is going to be. I know I'm still working on my PhD. My supervisor checks his email first thing in the morning. So if I email him around 1 o'clock, I don't expect to get a response until the next day. And if he doesn't get to it then he doesn't get to it then. On top of that, I also have a, like Jeff said, 24 to 48 hour rule. I use 2 business days. So I'm not responding to emails over the weekend. And by being clear and upfront with those expectations, students may email you frantically on the weekend, but you have been clear and laid out what you are going to respond to and when you are going to respond. So being a reasonable human being, they know when you're available. Now, some of you said, I work all week and I do emails on the weekends. If that's how you need to schedule your life, that's how you schedule your life. Tell students, if you email me during the week, you can expect a response Saturday morning, or in the evening on Thursday. If students know when they can get a response, then they can get to that. Now, for those points where they need help right now, the suggestion that I've given to people is to create a forum discussion board on your class that students can go to and ask a question. In that forum, students can answer each other. So usually if it's a question about content, or if it's a question about, specifics around an assignment, students can answer each other and then tell them when you will moderate that discussion. So I'm allowing students to answer this. I will check it on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m., for example, so that they know you're going to go in, you're going to look at it on Mondays and Wednesdays, or maybe a TA is looking at it on Monday and Wednesday. But that way students can answer those simpler questions with each other. And the big point here is stick to this schedule. Email creep is real, and it will creep into your life. So like Jamie was saying, you have an hour to do email that day, you work on email for an hour, and then the next day you start it again. On Google, in Gmail, you can set up filters that automatically label your responses, provided the subject line has a specific formatting. So if you have them write in the title of the course, for example, you could have it automatically labeled. So then when you're looking through your email, you can either scan specifically for that course label, or you can scan around that course label. I've been trying to figure out how to filter it out, but I haven't got that far yet. Have an email policy and stick to it. How do you want to be reached? Do you even want to be reached by email? Some people don't, and that's okay. Use your LMS. Tell students how they can get a hold of you. For those really big classes, if you have TAs supporting you, you may consider making another email. So I know one instructor who's teaching in economics, he has about 1,000 students in his first year section. And so he's created an email specific for his course, and his TAs have access to that email. And they've scheduled times who is going in at what time to answer these emails. This also keeps the email out of his inbox. We've already talked about tell students when they can accept a reply. And the last one is what is acceptable for students to email about. I bring that up because, for example, I do not email about grades. I don't do it in a face-to-face format. I wouldn't do it in an online format. If a student has a question about a grade, they can email me to book an appointment, at which point we can talk. So we would set up a Zoom meeting this term. I also tell students that I have a waiting period before they can email me after an assignment or exam is given back. So maybe I'm a little bit too curt, but I will ignore any email sent to me less than 48 hours after I return an assignment. So after 48 hours, they can email me and book a time. This prevents those immediate reaction emails where they're heated and they haven't had time to let things percolate and they just want to reply right away. So this way you can mitigate that by having a policy like that. And I simply have my policy and I paste it whenever I give an assignment back into the comments, so every student has that in their comments. Creating things that help your students figure out what they're doing. So if you can minimize the number of questions, you can minimize your amount on email. And the suggestion that was given in the literature, and this is something I agree with as a metacognitive pedagogue, is creating things that teach students to self-manage their learning. So you're coaching them about how they can approach learning the content as opposed to specifically what do they need to learn. An example of this that I use is when I give really high level readings that I think are going to be difficult for students, I give them specific things to think about in that. I may also put them in groups to take notes so that they can check with each other to see how things are going. Teach students how to manage their own learning, but learn within your subject. Along with this, it will help you if you can set time management strategies and plans for your students. So if you can tell them about how long things will take, because something students will ask about online is, how much time should I be spending on this? How long should this take me realistically? And this might have happened to you face-to-face as well. They may say, how much time am I supposed to spend reading each week? By indicating about how long each activity is going to take them, that mitigates that question. And along with boundaries, so part of boundaries is this email. When do I respond? How often do I talk to students? Can I schedule my time? Somebody asked us in a workshop a while ago, how formal can I be with my students? And so this is another part of boundaries, is setting up that professional space. Now, the article that I'm using today is by Wyrick in 2017, and they say you want to get your boundaries just right. If you're too rigid, students see it as you're not giving me enough support. If you're too loose, then you're being their friend instead of their instructor. Unfortunately, there's no hard and fast rules about this. But the one thing to remember is maintain the role of the professor, not friend, in every situation. If you ever have questions, feel free to come and talk to us at CTL.